Chapter 1. The night he didn't see coming. Jason Hale didn't get many nights off. In fact, he could count them on 2 hands and still have fingers left over. So when his sister announced, rather dramatically, that she was stealing Ruby and Russel for the entire weekend, he'd blinked at her as though she'd offered to buy him a yacht. "You need a break," she'd said. "A real one. The kind where you sleep in and don't pack anyone's backpack with emergency snacks or anxiety glitter." "Ruby doesn't have anxiety glitter," Jason had replied. "She absolutely does," his sister shot back. "It's in that sparkly unicorn pouch. It's labeled. I checked." And so, with his children buzzed with excitement at the promise of the zoo, ice cream, and probably a suspiciously large number of new toys from the mall, Jason had reluctantly agreed. His parents and sister had practically tag-teamed the handoff, spirits high. Ruby had hugged him 3 separate times before climbing into the car. "Daddy, don't miss me too much," she chirped, sprinkling a few errant flecks of glitter onto his sleeve like a blessing. Russell had said nothing, just gave Jason a solemn nod. The nod of a 5-year-old who'd already accepted leadership of the family in their father's absence. Then they were gone, and the house felt suddenly impossibly quiet, which was how Jason found himself downtown on a cool Friday evening, walking beside his older brother, Nate, who had insisted, loudly and lovingly, on dragging him out. "You look like someone who hasn't spoken to an adult in a non-parental capacity in at least 6 months, Nate declared as they crossed a street bathed in neon reflections. Jason shoved his hands into his jacket pockets. "I talk to adults. Doctors don't count. Teachers don't count. Plumbers definitely don't count." Jason snorted. "I talk to you." "Exactly," Nate said. "My point stands." The sidewalk buzzed with life, friends clumped together laughing, couples leaning close, music drifting from open bar doors. Jason didn't feel old exactly, just out of practice. Nate nudged him. "You ready to have actual fun?" "I'm ready to not fall asleep on my feet," Jason replied. They turned the corner, and that's when they saw her. A piano sat right on the sidewalk, an upright painted in swirls of color, the kind of thing that made passersby slow down for a second look. Behind it was a small hand-painted sign. "Music for little ears. Donations fund instruments for our elementary students." A woman played with an easy confidence, fingers dancing across the keys. Strawberry blonde hair fell in loose waves around her face, catching warm hints of the streetlights. She wore jeans, a soft sweater, and a smile that was both mischievous and welcoming, like she was in on a joke you hadn't heard yet. Her tip jar had stickers on it. Ruby would have approved. A small drum kit and an acoustic guitar sat nearby, along with a second sign. "Volunteers welcome if you can play." Someone had doodled a smiley face with a very questionable-looking flute. "That," Nate whispered dramatically, "is destiny." Jason had half a second to object before the woman looked up and smiled right at them. "Hi," she said brightly. "Either of you play?" Jason tried to shake his head. Nate answered with a traitorous, "Yes, he does." Jason gaped at him. "Nate." But the woman was already lighting up. "Seriously? That would be amazing. I'm trying to raise money for some classroom instruments. My kids deserve more than the 2 remaining recorders in the supply closet." Jason blinked. "You're a music teacher?" "2nd grade teacher," she corrected. "But I'm trying to get a proper little music corner started in my room. They love it. Kids that age are basically sound gremlins with legs." Jason's lips twitched despite himself. Nate gave him a shove. "He's a great guitarist, like stupidly good. Don't let the dad shuffle sweater fool you." Jason shot him a deadly glare. "Nate, stop talking." But the woman's face softened with something almost like pleading. "It would really help. Only if you want to, of course." And that did it. That little look. Jason was a father. His weakness was children. Anything for kids, even kids who weren't his own. He sighed. "Okay, just a song or 2. Her grin bloomed. "You're the best. I'm Mara." "Jason," he said. Nate saluted. "Nate, drummer extraordinaire." Mara raised an eyebrow. "You drum." "He drums loudly," Jason corrected. "Perfect," Mara said blissfully, which is how Jason ended up sitting on a folding stool, guitar settling against his leg like an old friend. Nate slid behind the small drum kit, tapping the sticks together with an enthusiasm that made Jason briefly reconsider all of his life choices. "Anything particular?" Jason asked Mara. "Oh, I'll follow whatever you start," she said lightly as she returned to the piano. "As long as it's not death metal." Jason snorted. "No promises." She laughed. A light, bell-bright sound, and it hit him with surprising force. He hadn't heard a laugh like that from an adult in a long time. Most laughter he heard lately was 5-year-old cackling when Russell put underwear on his head. Jason took a breath, let his fingers find the chords of an easy, upbeat tune he used to play with Nate years ago. Nate caught on immediately, falling into rhythm. Mara joined in seamlessly, weaving a melody around them like she'd known the song forever. People stopped. A few clapped along. Some tossed bills into the tip jar covered in stickers. Mara kept glancing at him, not shy exactly but curious. Warm. as though she was trying to read something in the set of his shoulders or the way he hid a smile when Nate tried to showboat on the drums and nearly overbalanced the entire kit. When the song ended, a small cluster of people applauded. Someone shouted, "One more!" Nate, obviously drunk on attention, raised both drumsticks like a victorious gladiator. "We take requests," he declared. Jason muttered under his breath, "We do not take requests," but Mara laughed again. "Honestly, that was fantastic. You two have great chemistry." Jason shrugged self-consciously. "We used to play together all the time, before life got busy." "Busy good or busy bad?" she asked gently. Jason hesitated. "Busy necessary." Her expression softened. "I get that." They played 2 more songs, nothing fancy, nothing polished, but it didn't need to be. It was fun. It had been a long time since Jason had done something simply because it felt good. Eventually a man in a cafe apron stepped out to hand Mara a cup of something steaming. "Your usual," he said. "On the house since your little concert is keeping half my customers outside." Mara grinned. "Thanks, Lou." Jason stood, stretching a little. "I should get going." "Early morning." Mara nodded, though her eyes lingered on him for a beat longer than casual. "Thank you. Really. Tonight helped more than you know." "It was for the kids," he said automatically. She teased. "But maybe a little for yourself too?" His mouth curved. "Maybe." Then his phone buzzed. Ruby's name flashed across the screen, adorned, as always, with her chosen emoji. A glitter explosion. Jason answered immediately. "Hey, sunshine." Her voice came through bright and excited. "Daddy, guess what? Guess what? Auntie is letting me pick all the toppings for my ice cream." "All?" Jason asked, horrified and impressed. "Even the cookie dough," she announced. "Live your dreams, kiddo." Mara's smile softened as she watched him. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He wasn't performing. He was simply being a dad, full-hearted and gentle. Ruby chattered on until Jason promised to call again later. He hung up and rubbed his forehead. "That child is going to come home vibrating like a hummingbird." "She sounds adorable," Mara said. "She is," Jason admitted. "Both my kids are great. Exhausting, but great." Mara glanced at the tip jar, now noticeably fuller. "Well, you helped their future classmates tonight. That counts as superhero work." Jason flushed slightly. "It was nothing." "It wasn't," she said quietly. Nate slung an arm around Jason's shoulders. "He's modest. Ignore it. Drives everyone crazy." Jason elbowed him. "We should get going." Yeah. Nate looked at Mara. "You should rope him into playing again sometime." Mara's eyes flickered with amused boldness. "Maybe I will." Jason nearly tripped over the piano bench. They exchanged goodbyes, and Jason felt something strange on the walk away. A tightness in his chest that wasn't unpleasant. More like a door creaking open in a house he'd thought was sealed. Nate nudged him yet again. "She was cute." Jason made a non-committal noise. "And you were flirting." "I was not flirting." "You absolutely were," Nate said. "In your quiet, awkward, dad energy way." Jason shook his head, though he couldn't smother the small smile creeping in. "We just played some music. Nothing more." But even as he said it, he knew the night had shifted something just a little. A spark. A melody he hadn't expected. And for the first time in a long, long while, Jason didn't mind where it might lead. Chapter 2. The almost date that wasn't. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of silence that was both luxurious and suspicious. Jason woke slowly, blinking at the ceiling, waiting for Ruby's tiny hand to pat his cheek or for Russell to stand beside the bed breathing like a woodland creature until Jason sensed him. Nothing. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that came once a year, if that. He sat up, rubbed his face, and muttered, "This is weird." He wandered into the kitchen, started a pot of coffee, then stopped halfway through reaching for a mug. On the counter lay a small glittery sticker in the shape of a star, undoubtedly left by Ruby, whose presence was like a gentle glitter-based haunting. He smiled and pocketed it. By early afternoon he was showered, fed, caffeinated, and unsure what to do next. Nate had texted at noon. "You alive? We're going out again tonight, yes? You can't back out. Mom already knows." Jason rolled his eyes and typed back a non-committal maybe. He hadn't decided if he had the social energy for another round of downtown. He was halfway through folding laundry when his phone buzzed again, this time with an unknown number. He stared at it. After the divorce, unknown number usually meant telemarketer, dentist reminder, or someone trying to tell him he'd won a cruise. None of those felt urgent, but something tugged at him, so he swiped to answer. "Hello? Hi. Hi. It's Mara. From last night." There was a nervous little laugh. The piano. And the street. And wow, that's probably the worst introduction ever. Jason froze for a beat before finding his voice. "No, it's fine. I just wasn't expecting a call." I know, and I'm sorry to jump into your day," she said quickly. "I found your number on the donation sheet you filled out before you left. I promise I wasn't snooping. I wanted to thank you, properly. You and your brother helped more than you know." Jason sat on the edge of the couch, suddenly very aware of the pile of laundry next to him. You don't have to thank me. I was happy to help. I know, but I wanted to anyway. And I also wanted to return something. Jason blinked. Return what? Well, you left your guitar pick. She cleared her throat. I found it in the case after you left. It's purple and sparkly. I didn't take you for a glitter guy. It's my daughter's, Jason said, automatically embarrassed. She likes to decorate everything. Lunch boxes, shoes. Me. Mara laughed. A warm, genuine sound that settled beneath his ribs. Well, it's a very confident pick. It basically screamed notice me when I saw it. Jason rubbed the back of his neck. I can pick it up sometime. Oh, I didn't mean you had to come now, she said quickly. I know you have kids, and a weekend, and a life. I can also drop it off at the school office next week. Jason hesitated. Part of him did want to see her, more than he should admit. Another part worried it would feel too much like something he wasn't sure he was ready for. You know what? Mara said before he could decide. Forget I said anything. It's a guitar pick, not a priceless heirloom. I just didn't want you to think I was keeping it hostage. Jason huffed a laugh. It's okay. I'll come pick it up. Where are you? There was a brief pause, like she hadn't expected him to say yes. I'm downtown. Same spot as last night. I wanted to give it one more go today. Saturday foot traffic is great for donations. I'll head over, Jason said before he could talk himself out of it. Okay, she said brightly. I'll be here, playing, badly, trying to charm strangers with off-key enthusiasm. I doubt it'll be off-key, Jason said. You didn't hear my attempt at Bohemian Rhapsody earlier. He laughed. I'll see you soon. See you soon, she echoed. When he hung up, Jason realized he was smiling. Oh boy, he thought. This is a thing now, isn't it? Downtown was even busier than the night before. Families, tourists, college kids, the usual Saturday chaos. Jason threaded through it all until he heard music drifting from the same bright piano. Mara was there, hair in a messy half-bun, cheeks slightly flushed, tapping out a playful melody. She spotted him almost instantly, her face lighting up in a way that wasn't imagination. Jason's stomach did something unfamiliar, something warm, something that made him want to straighten his posture. Hey, she called as he approached. You came. You did say you had something of mine, he replied. It's a powerful negotiation technique. She hopped up from the piano bench and retrieved a tiny purple pick from her pocket. One glittery item, returned as promised. Jason took it, smiling. Thanks. For a moment, the two of them stood there, the lively street moving around them, neither sure what came next. You want to play again? Mara asked tentatively. No pressure. Really. I just had more people asking for music last night and, well, you're good. Jason had the sudden, strong feeling he very much wanted to keep standing here in front of her. I can play one or two. Mara grinned. You're officially my favorite volunteer. Nate would never let him live that down. As he settled onto the stool and picked up the guitar, Mara asked, So, your kids, Ruby and Russel. Jason nodded. They're with my family for the weekend. What are they like? He hesitated, not because he didn't know, but because no one asked that kind of question unless they genuinely cared. Ruby is sunshine with legs, he said softly. She loves stickers, glitter, unicorns, dancing, and, well, everything. And Russel. Mini-me, Jason said with a helpless fondness. Quiet, observant, dramatic sighs for days. Mara laughed. Sounds adorable. They're good kids, he murmured. And they're my whole world. Her voice softened. It shows. He didn't know what to say to that, so he started playing instead. They played 3 songs, slipping into an easy rhythm. People smiled as they passed. A little girl danced with 2 fistfuls of confetti someone definitely should not have given her. A couple recorded them with their phones, nodding along. After the 3rd song, Mara leaned closer. Okay, I have to ask something. Jason paused mid-chord. What's that? Last night. Did you have fun? She winced. I'm sorry, that sounded needy. Ignore that. Jason shook his head. No, I did. Her relief was both obvious and somehow endearing. Good. Me too. They played one more song before Mara released him with a laugh. Go. Enjoy your kid-free time. Before the small overlords return to reclaim you. Jason chuckled. My sister is probably feeding them sugar as we speak. It builds character. And chaos, Jason added. That too. They stood there again, close enough to feel it, far enough not to name it. So, Mara said, shifting her weight. Not to be intrusive, but are you busy later? Jason blinked. Later. She waved her hands in a flustered blur. Not like a date. Unless? No. No pressure. I just thought maybe we could. Her words tripped over each other until she groaned and covered her face with both hands. I swear I'm a functional adult. Jason laughed gently. I'm not doing anything tonight. She peeked at him through her fingers. Really? Really? Mara lowered her hands and smiled. Then maybe we could grab coffee? Nothing fancy. Just coffee. He opened his mouth to say yes. His phone buzzed. His ex-wife's name flashed across the screen. Jason's entire body tensed. Hold on, he murmured, stepping aside as he answered. Hello. Hi, she said, her voice distant, unfamiliar. I thought maybe I should check in. Jason closed his eyes. Now? She talked for 3 minutes. Nothing urgent, nothing important, just long enough to drain the warmth from the moment like air from a balloon. When he finally hung up, Mara was pretending to adjust sheet music she didn't have. Sorry, he said quietly. That was complicated. She nodded, polite, understanding, suddenly cautious. It's okay, really. I should. Jason gestured vaguely toward the street. I should go. Of course, she said, smiling with only half her heart. Have a good night. You too. And then he left, walking away with a heaviness he didn't want to admit. Behind him, Mara sat back at the piano, playing softly, notes that drifted through the air like something wistful. Jason didn't look back. He also didn't see the small, hopeful glance she sent after him before turning to greet a group of curious kids who had gathered near the piano. Chapter 3, School Drop OFF Surprise. Monday mornings were usually a blur of serial negotiations, missing socks, and Ruby explaining in increasingly dramatic detail how mornings were mean. But after a kid-free weekend, Jason woke early, made pancakes shaped like questionable animals, and felt almost put together when he loaded his kids into the car. Ruby bounced in her booster seat, curls bouncing with her. Daddy, Auntie says I'm basically a unicorn because I sparkle inside and outside. That tracks, Jason said. Russell, arms crossed, stared solemnly out the window. I'm a dragon. Jason smiled. Of course you are. He drove them to Oak Creek Elementary, pulling into the drop-off lane just as the morning bustle hit full speed. Parents wrangled kids with backpacks bigger than their torsos. Teachers greeted students at the door. The principal waved like she was flagging down ships. Ruby unbuckled in record time. Daddy, can I give Miss Callahan my sticker? I made her a welcome to Monday sticker. Jason paused. Miss Callahan? Aha. Ruby beamed. She's new and super pretty, and she plays the piano sometimes, and she says my drawings are masterpieces. Jason froze, hand on the door handle. Callahan. Miss Callahan. Mara Callahan. There had to be more than one Callahan in town. Had to be. Daddy. Ruby tugged his sleeve. Come on. My sticker is gonna get wrinkly. Right? He murmured, trying to steady himself. Let's go. He lifted Russell out first, his son immediately insisting he could have done it himself, then helped Ruby down. She grabbed his hand, dragging him toward the front entrance with determined 6-year-old purpose. Daddy, hurry. I'm hurrying, he lied. They rounded the corner into the school courtyard, and that was when he saw her. Mara stood beside the main doors, holding a clipboard and greeting students with the kind of warm, patient smile that made kids instantly trust her. Her hair was half pinned back. She wore a simple olive dress and cardigan, and she looked every bit the bright, capable teacher she was. She also looked nothing like she had Saturday night when she tried to ask him out and he, after receiving a call from his ex, essentially walked away. Mara spotted Ruby first, then her gaze lifted and met Jason's. Her eyes widened just slightly. Not surprised exactly. More like the universe had pulled a prank on them and she wasn't sure whether to laugh or duck. Ruby waved both arms dramatically. Miss Callahan, I brought you a sticker. Mara's mouth curved, but her eyes were very much locked on Jason. Hi, Ruby. That's sweet of you. Oh, hi. She added the last part softly, directed at Jason with a small, unsure smile. Jason, for reasons unknown to him, felt his heartbeat spike like he'd just been caught sneaking into a movie he wasn't supposed to watch. Good morning, he said, trying not to sound like someone who discovered a hidden camera twist in his own life. Morn, she started, then broke off when Ruby thrust a sparkling star sticker at her. This is for you, because today is Monday and Mondays are hard. Daddy says so. Does he? Mara asked, suppressing a laugh as she accepted the sticker. Jason cleared his throat. I do. Sometimes. Russell stepped forward, peering suspiciously up at Mara. You know my dad? Jason winced. Mara crouched to Russell's eye level, gentle and open. A little. Your dad helped me play music downtown this weekend. He's really good. Russell considered this. He's my dad. I heard, Mara whispered conspiratorially. You're a dragon. Russell straightened, clearly impressed. Yes. Jason nearly choked on air. Ruby tugged on her teacher's sleeve. Miss Callahan, can we have music today? Absolutely, Mara said. We're doing rhythm sticks. Yes. Ruby pumped a fist. Jason finally found his voice. So, you work here? Mara stood again, a shy tilt to her smile. I do. 2nd grade. And Ruby's in my class. She gestured at the small name tag pinned to her cardigan. Ms. Callahan, room 14. I didn't know, Jason said, mortified at how obvious that must have been. Well, I figured, Mara said lightly, but it's okay. I didn't exactly lead with, I might teach your kid when we talked. When we talked was generous. She was referring to when she half asked him out and he vanished like a startled deer. Jason opened his mouth to apologize, but Ruby tugged her teacher again. Miss Callahan, Daddy plays the guitar really good. I know, Mara said with a soft smile that was definitely tipping toward shy. I heard. Can he come play for our class? Ruby asked. Jason choked. Whoa there. I think that's a great idea, Mara said, laughter in her voice. Jason shot her a helpless look. You're enjoying this, aren't you? A little, she admitted. Before he could assemble an apology for Saturday, or figure out how to handle any of this, a bell chimed overhead. That's our cue, Mara said, stepping back. Come on, Ruby. Time for school. Bye, Daddy. Ruby hugged his legs. Russell gave him a quieter, but no less sincere, see you later. Jason kissed both their heads and watched as they followed Mara toward the doorway. Ruby talked animatedly. Russell walked with hands in pockets like a very small, very intense man. Halfway to the door, Ruby turned and yelled across the courtyard. Daddy, don't forget to practice so you can play for US. Every parent, teacher, and actual bird within earshot turned to look. Jason covered his face with one hand. Fantastic. When he lowered it, he saw Mara laughing, trying, and failing to hide it. Then she disappeared into room 14. Later that morning, after a futile attempt to focus at work, Jason found himself replaying the moment of shock on her face, the warmth in her voice when she talked to his kids, the way she tried not to laugh when Ruby publicly volunteered him for classroom entertainment, and the way he'd walked away from her Saturday night. I should apologize. His phone buzzed. A message from his sister. How's drop-off? Missed the chaos yet? Jason exhaled hard. You wouldn't believe who Ruby's teacher is. He put his phone down before she could reply with explosions of emojis. Because there it was again, that door creaking open. Not wide, not all the way. Just enough light to see there might be something beyond the walls he'd built. Pickup time came too soon. Jason walked toward the school doors, trying to look casual and absolutely failing at it. Parents clustered around, chatting. A few kids darted past in wild bursts of energy. Then room 14 opened, and students spilled out in a colorful wave. Ruby barreled into him immediately. Daddy, we learned a new song and Miss Callahan says I have very good rhythm and Russell stole a stick, but she made him give it back, so he only kind of stole it. Ruby, Jason said gently. Breathing is allowed. She inhaled dramatically. Oh yeah. Jason looked up just as Mara stepped into the hallway behind them. Her eyes met his, and for the first time since their awkward almost invite, she smiled fully, bright, warm, a little nervous. It hit him harder than he expected. Hi, she said quietly once she reached them. Hi, he replied. Ruby started twirling between them, oblivious to the adult tension she'd helped create. Russell stood beside Jason, arms crossed, watching with careful calculation, as though trying to decide if Miss Callahan's presence was acceptable. I'm sorry about Saturday, Jason said quietly. Mara blinked. You don't have to apologize. I do, he insisted. It was rude. I didn't mean to walk off like that. My ex, complicated timing. Her expression softened. I get it. Really. You have a life outside Chance Street music encounters. He wasn't sure how to explain that he wanted that moment with her. He just couldn't balance it with everything else that had resurfaced that night. Still, he said, I didn't want you to think I wasn't interested. Her brows lifted slightly. Oh, Ruby chose that exact second to yell. Daddy, can we get ice cream? Miss Callahan, do you like ice cream? Do you want to come? Jason turned a shade of red that was probably illegal in most states. Mara laughed softly. Maybe another time, Ruby. Jason mouthed, I'm so sorry, over Ruby's head. Mara bit her lip, trying not to laugh harder. This woman was going to be the death of him. In a good way. I'll see you tomorrow, Mara said, stepping back. Jason nodded. Yeah, tomorrow. And as he walked his kids toward the car, Ruby chattering nonstop about rhythm sticks and glitter, Jason found himself hoping tomorrow came faster than usual. Chapter 4. Music, meltdowns, and mischief. Jason had never been inside room 14 before, but he imagined it would look something like the inside of Ruby's brain. Colorful, chaotic, and sprinkled with glitter. He was not wrong. The following Thursday morning, after drop-off, he found himself standing outside the classroom door with his guitar case slung over one shoulder and a knot of nerves sitting in his stomach like a disapproving stone. He wasn't sure how it happened. Maybe he'd been guilt-tripped by Ruby's enthusiasm. Maybe he'd been charmed unfairly by Mara's warm laugh. Or maybe he had stepped so deeply into dad mode that volunteering in a classroom now felt like a reasonable thing. Whatever the reason, his sister's text still glowed accusingly in his mind. You're playing for a room full of second graders? This I gotta see. Jason had replied with no. Do not show up. Her response, naturally, had been eyes. Now he stood hesitating at the door, listening to the muffled hum of 7-year-old chatter. Ruby had run ahead, promising to prepare Miss Callahan. Jason suspected that meant, warn her that my dad is nervous. He took a breath and knocked. The room fell silent. Then Mara's voice came through, warm and amused. Come in. Jason stepped inside. Room 14 looked exactly as he'd expected. Bright posters, paper lanterns, bins labeled everything neatly, a bookshelf that seemed to have exploded with enthusiasm, and a corner dedicated to musical instruments that had presumably seen better days around 2004. 20 small faces turned toward him. Ruby waved both arms like she was signaling a landing plane. "That's my dad." Jason raised a hand awkwardly. "Hi." Mara stood at the front of the room, smiling, her expression somewhere between delighted and apologetic. "Good morning, Mr. Hale. We're very excited you're here." "Mr. Hale," one boy whispered dramatically. "Sounds like a superhero name." Jason tried not to laugh. "It's just Jason, really." But the kids were already buzzing. Mara stepped aside and gestured toward a small chair at the front of the room. "We were just about to start our music activity. Since someone," she cast a teasing glance at Ruby, "told us your dad plays guitar, the class voted to hear a song first." "That's not true," a girl announced loudly. "We didn't vote. Ruby just yelled it." Ruby shrugged unapologetically. "Voting is slow." Jason smothered a laugh while Mara gave him a helpless "this is my daily life" look. He set his guitar case down and began unpacking. As soon as the guitar came out, the kids oohed like he'd presented a mythical artifact. "Do you know Taylor Swift?" a boy asked. "No, but I can play some of her songs." "What about dragons?" another asked. "Can you play a dragon song?" Jason blinked. "Define dragon song." "Loud," the boy said gravely. Mara intervened. "Let Mr. Hale warm up first, okay?" Jason tuned quickly, adjusted the strap, and finally started with a simple upbeat tune. Gentle enough for the classroom, catchy enough for kids. They swayed. They clapped. Ruby did interpretive dance that could only be described as enthusiastic windmill. Even Russell, who usually hid emotions like classified information, tapped a foot under his desk. When Jason finished, the room erupted in applause. "That was awesome," several kids shouted. One boy raised a hand. "Can you play it again but faster? Like super fast? Like squirrel fast?" Jason shook his head, smiling helplessly. "Maybe later." Mara stepped forward, her eyes sparkling. "Okay, class, settle down. We're going to continue with our rhythm lesson. Mr. Hale is going to help us with keeping steady beats." Jason mouthed, "I am?" at her. She mouthed back, "Yes," with obvious delight. Then it began, and chaos unfolded. Glorious, unstoppable chaos. The rhythm sticks were distributed. Children tapped. Children clacked. Children discovered that rhythm sticks could also be drumsticks, swords, lightsabers, wizard wands, and apparently fishing poles. One girl attempted to create a beat pattern so elaborate it required full-body choreography. A boy named Oliver refused to participate unless Jason confirmed whether or not dragons were real. Ruby narrated everything like she was hosting a reality show. And through it all, Mara guided them with bright patience, calling out, "Freeze!" and 1, 2, 3 eyes on me, like a musical conductor managing a very enthusiastic orchestra of caffeinated squirrels. At one point, a stick flew across the room. Jason caught it mid-air. The class gasped. Ruby leapt into the air. "Daddy's a ninja." Mara pressed a hand to her mouth, her shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter. She gave him a look that said, "Okay, that was hot, but also you're encouraging them." He shrugged helplessly. Eventually, they regrouped enough to follow Jason through a simple rhythmic pattern. He tapped. They echoed. Some were early. Some were late. Some hit sticks with such vigor Jason feared for their safety. But they were trying, and laughing, and learning. Mara stood beside him through all of it, eyes bright, cheeks warm, quietly encouraging the shy kids and gently redirecting the chaos makers. She was good at this. Really good. When the activity ended, Mara clapped her hands. "Okay, everyone. Time to thank Mr. Hale." "Thank you, Amar." "Hale," they shouted. Ruby, of course, provided her own addendum. "I love you, Daddy." Jason's heart did an embarrassing flip. "You're welcome, guys," he said. "You did great." "Can he come back?" a boy asked. "Yeah," another said. "We need more ninja guitar." Mara shot him a sidelong look. "We'll see." When the kids settled into their next assignment, Mara approached him quietly. "You survived." He grinned. "Barely. You were great." "I was flailing. Artistically," she corrected. "And the kids loved you." He glanced around the room, watching tiny heads bent over worksheets, Ruby whispering something to Russell that made him roll his eyes. "They're good kids," Jason said softly. "They are," Mara agreed. "And yours are some of the sweetest." Jason swallowed. Her voice dropped just a little. "I'm really glad you came today." Jason met her eyes, hazel, gentle, full of warmth he wasn't sure how to accept yet. "I'm glad you asked," he said. For a heartbeat, it felt like the room shrank to just the two of them. Then someone yelled, "Miss Callahan, Liam is eating paper again." Mara sighed. "Of course he is." Jason tried not to laugh. "Go. Save the paper." "I always do," she said, rolling her eyes fondly before walking away. Jason watched her gently extract the mangled page from Liam's mouth and hand him a fresh one, speaking softly enough that the boy nodded with real remorse. She was chaos and kindness and competence blended together. And he was in trouble. The good kind. Later, as he packed up to leave, Ruby ran to him again. "Daddy, did you have fun?" He glanced around the lively classroom, at Mara smiling at him from across the room, at Russell pretending not to watch him. "Yeah," Jason said. "I really did." "Good." Ruby grabbed his hand and whispered loudly, "Miss Callahan likes you." Jason froze. "Ruby?" "She does," Ruby insisted. "She looks at you like Auntie looks at donuts." Jason winced. "That's specific." Ruby nodded sagely. "Love makes people hungry." Jason crouched to kiss her forehead. "I'll see you after school, sunshine." As he walked out of room 14, guitar case over his shoulder, heart beating faster than he liked, Jason thought, maybe I needed this more than I realized. Chapter 5. The first real date, technically. Jason had barely pulled into the school parking lot for pickup when the passenger door flew open and Ruby climbed in like a caffeinated squirrel. "Daddy, daddy, daddy, daddy. Guess what? Miss Callahan says I have excellent musical instincts." "She did?" Jason asked, amused. "Yes. And Russell hit the sticks too loud, but she said he had passion. And that's important for dragons." Russell, sliding into his booster seat, muttered, "Quiet dragons are boring." Jason buckled his daughter in, suppressing a laugh. "What else happened today?" "She read us a book," Ruby said. "And she wore the sticker I gave her. On her sleeve. It was sparkly and everything." Jason swallowed. "She wore it. Hum. It matched her bracelet, so she said it was fashion." He didn't say much to that, but it lingered with him. Long after the kids were fed, bathed, and tucked in. Long after the last bedtime story and the ritual monster chasing from Ruby's closet. By 9 o'clock, the house was quiet, and Jason was staring blankly at his own reflection while brushing his teeth. "She wore it," he murmured to no one. He wasn't used to someone noticing the small things, or wearing them. The next morning at drop-off, Mara stood outside again, greeting students with her usual warm energy. And there, on her sleeve, was the star sticker Ruby had given her. Not stuck on hurriedly, not slapped on for Ruby's sake. It looked chosen. Jason's heart thudded traitorously. Mara saw him and gave a small wave. "Good morning." "Morning," he managed. Ruby executed a spinning entrance into the classroom, leaving a glitter trail as though she'd rehearsed it. Jason cleared his throat. Thanks again for letting me come by yesterday." "Oh, trust me," Mara said lightly. "The kids haven't stopped talking about the ninja guitar incident. That was an accident. According to Liam, you're now a certified stealth warrior. He asked if you could teach him how to catch paper midair." Jason laughed. "I'm not sure that's a transferable skill." "Don't worry," she said with a grin. "I told him it requires 10 years of training and a very specific breakfast routine." He bashfully looked down. "Thanks for letting me help. Really. Thanks for helping." She hesitated, then lightly added, "And, sorry again for kinda cornering you Saturday." "You didn't corner me," he said quickly. Her eyebrows rose. "Jason, I literally blurted out something that was almost a date and then panicked." "You didn't panic. I panicked with charm," she corrected. Jason rubbed the back of his neck. "It wasn't you. My ex called right when you were asking." "Oh." Mara's expression softened. Yeah. That would derail anyone's sanity. "And I should have explained, or apologized sooner, or something. I wasn't trying to walk away from you." Her lips parted just slightly. "So, you're saying you would have said yes?" Jason looked at her. Really looked at her. The hopeful curve of her smile. The way she fidgeted with the end of her sleeve. The kindness in her eyes. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I would have." Her breath caught, tiny, almost imperceptible. But it was there. "Well," she said, voice suddenly soft and brave all at once. "Maybe we could try that again. Minus the panic." A warmth spread through Jason's chest, steady and surprising. "I'd like that." Her smile bloomed like sunlight. The bell rang. Kids streamed inside. Mara stepped backward through the door. "Okay then. How about coffee this afternoon? Nothing fancy. Just a warm drink and company." Jason tried not to grin like an idiot. "Coffee sounds good." "Good." She blushed a little, an adorable, unfair pink across her cheeks. "I'll text you the place." And then she disappeared into room 14, leaving Jason standing there feeling like his lungs had forgotten how to work. The hours between drop-off and coffee might as well have been a week. Jason checked his phone too often. Tried to focus on errands. Tried to distract himself by reorganizing a closet he'd avoided for 2 years. By the time he pulled into the small cafe Mara had suggested, Maple and Steam, his heart thudded so loudly he was convinced passersby could hear it. He spotted her immediately through the window. Mara sat at a small table by the corner, hair down around her shoulders today, dress soft and floral, fingers wrapped around a mug like it was a comfort object. She was biting her lip, just a little, like she was nervous too. That steadied him. Jason stepped inside. The bell chimed. She looked up. Her face brightened instantly. "Hi," she said, standing up a little too fast, bumping the table slightly, blushing as her spoon clinked loudly against her mug. "Hi." again. Jason smiled. Hi. Okay. She breathed out with a laugh. So apparently I've forgotten how to function as a human. You're doing fine. No, see, now you're just being nice, she said, pointing to the spoon still wobbling in the mug. Utter chaos. Objectively. It's endearing chaos. Her eyes softened. Thank you for coming. Thank you for asking, he said. They sat. The moment stretched, not awkward but careful. Gentle. Like two people stepping into new territory with cautious joy. Mara exhaled. So, tell me something about yourself that isn't dad-related or guitar-related. Jason blinked. That basically eliminates most of my personality. Come on, she teased. There must be something else, he thought. I make really good pancakes. That counts, she said seriously. Pancakes are a life skill. What about you? He asked. She perked up. I make chaotic pancakes, which is why I go to diners a lot. Jason laughed softly. Chaotic how? Either burnt or raw. There is no middle ground. That's impressive. Thank you, she said gravely. I believe in committing to extremes. Her smile lingered in a way that made his chest ache. She traced a finger around the rim of her mug. I'm really glad we're doing this. Me too, he admitted. But the truth, unspoken, sat between them like a warm, fragile thing. I didn't think I'd be doing this again. Not for a long time. Maybe ever. Mara leaned in slightly. Okay, want honesty? Full transparency? He nodded. I was a little afraid you changed your mind. Jason inhaled. I didn't. She smiled, relief smoothing her shoulders. Good, 'cause I really like talking to you, and I really like watching you be a dad. And you seem like someone who, I don't know, someone who cares. And that's rarer than it should be. Jason's throat tightened. I care about a lot of things. Maybe too much. I don't think that's a flaw, she said quietly. He held her gaze. Sometimes it feels like one. She seemed to understand what he wasn't saying. About his marriage, the lonely grind of parenting alone, the fear of letting someone close to his kids again, of letting someone close to him. Mara reached across the table, not touching him, just placing her hand close enough that he felt the invitation. You don't have to rush, she said softly. I'm not in a hurry. Jason let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Thank you, he murmured. Her smile widened just a little. Besides, she added lightly, I'm enjoying the slow build. It's very cinematic. Jason chuckled. Is that what this is? Oh, definitely, she said. Classic rom-com energy. You're the grumpy but soft single dad. I'm the teacher with questionable organization skills and too much enthusiasm. You're not disorganized, he said. She gestured broadly. Did you see room 14? Jason smirked. It was charmingly chaotic. My students call it the fun zone. I'm this close, she held her fingers almost touching, to losing control entirely. He laughed, and she beamed at him like his laughter was a personal victory. Their coffee turned into an hour, then two, then a half walk through the downtown farmer's market even though neither of them needed anything. She bought kettle corn. He held the bag when her hands got cold. They kept talking about music, about teaching, about parenting, about the tiny, weird joy of opening a brand new pack of pens. They almost forgot this was supposed to be their first date. Felt like the 10th. Eventually, Jason checked the time and startled. I have to go pick up the kids. Mara nodded, her smile softening into something real. Yeah, of course. He hesitated. This was really good. It was, she agreed. Better than my panic attack almost asking on Saturday. You were cute, he said before he could stop himself. A blush crept across her face. You can't just say things like that. He swallowed. Sorry. No, she said softly. Don't be. For a moment, they just stood there on the sidewalk, facing each other, warm air drifting between them, the noise of downtown fading to a dull hum. See you tomorrow, Mara whispered. See you tomorrow, Jason echoed. And as he walked toward his car, the bag of kettle corn under his arm, Jason realized something undeniable. He was falling. Slowly, carefully, unexpectedly, but definitely falling. Chapter 6, Setbacks and Confessions. By Friday afternoon, Jason felt something he hadn't felt in years. Anticipation. The good kind. The kind that made his pulse lift a little when he thought about Mara's smile. The way she tilted her head when she was teasing him. The soft focused warmth that settled in her eyes when she talked to his kids. He hadn't meant to grow this attached this quickly. But he also hadn't meant to laugh so much with her, or spend 2.5 hours in a cafe talking like he wasn't afraid to say anything at all. He hadn't meant for any of this, but it was happening. Pickup time came, and he spotted her outside room 14, holding the door as students spilled out like excited popcorn. Ruby burst forward immediately. Daddy, we did art. And mine had 3 unicorns because one unicorn was lonely without the other unicorn, and then the third unicorn was a baby unicorn because family is important. Jason smiled. That sounds emotionally layered. It was, she agreed solemnly. Russell walked out behind her, holding a drawing of what appeared to be a dragon eating a pizza. I made this, he said. It's beautiful, Jason replied. It's based on real events. Russel added. Jason had no idea what that meant. Then Mara stepped out. Her face lit just a little more than necessary when she saw him. "Hi," she said, voice soft but warm. "Hi." Jason shifted his guitar case, because Ruby insisted he bring it every day just in case, and cleared his throat. "You teaching more ninja training today?" Her lips quirked. "Only for highly advanced second graders." They shared a look that said we're flirting and pretending we aren't, but neither acknowledged it out loud. "Have a good weekend, you three," Mara said, brushing a curl from Ruby's forehead. "We will," Ruby beamed. Russel squinted up at her. "Do dragons have homework?" "Not on Fridays," she answered. He nodded. "Good." And just like that, they were heading toward the car. Jason kept glancing back, once, twice, only to find Mara doing the same. The third time, she laughed softly through the glass door, and he felt the warmth of it all the way to his chest. The evening passed easily. Pizza, a movie that Ruby only half-watched because she kept narrating, Russel insisting that dragons would never be defeated by a mere knight, and bedtime stories with voices so dramatic that Ruby declared him the best daddy ever. It was almost perfect, which was exactly when everything went sideways. At 9:37 p.m., after the kids had gone to bed, after Jason had settled onto the couch with a blanket and the faint echo of kettle corn memories from his date with Mara, his phone buzzed. A name appeared on the screen. His ex-wife. His stomach dropped. He considered ignoring it. He really did. But the guilt, the old, familiar weight, made him swipe to answer. "Hello. Hi." Her voice was hesitant, almost fragile. "I wanted to talk, if that's okay." Jason closed his eyes. "Is something wrong?" There was a pause. "No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot. About the kids. And about us." Jason froze. No, not now. Not when he was finally carefully stepping into something new. Something gentle. Something good. "What about them?" he asked evenly. "I miss them," she said, and there was a crack in her voice that sounded like regret, or maybe just inconvenience. "I've been thinking it might be time I reconnected." Jason leaned forward, pressing a hand to his forehead. "You signed over custody." "I know that," she whispered, "but that doesn't mean I don't care." "You don't call," he said softly. "You haven't called in months. You haven't asked about their birthdays, or school, or anything." "I know." Her voice broke. "I know. And I'm sorry." Jason's heart was torn between anger and exhaustion and sympathy he didn't want to feel. She continued, "I was thinking maybe I could visit. Soon." He took a slow breath. "That would confuse them. They're young. They don't understand why you left." "I didn't leave," she whispered. I wasn't ready." Jason felt something inside him flicker, something old and painful. "They were ready," he said. "They needed you." "I know," she said again. "And I'm trying to do better now." His chest tightened. Doing better means showing up. Not just calling on a random Friday night. It means effort. Consistency. Are you ready for that? Because you don't get to breeze in and out. Not again. She sobbed quietly. "You're right. I know you're right. I just miss them." Jason closed his eyes. He didn't hate her. He never had. He just couldn't carry the weight of her choices anymore. "We'll talk," he said finally. "But this has to be slow, careful, and centered on them, not on guilt." "Okay," she whispered. When he hung up, Jason sat in the dark, letting the remnants of old wounds sting like reopened scratches. He rubbed his face. He thought of how Mara had reached across the cafe table, not touching, but inviting. Thought of how she'd said, "I'm not in a hurry." Thought of how light everything had felt earlier today. And now he felt heavy. Heavy in the way grief settles into old bones. He couldn't bring this into something new. He needed to think. Needed space. He didn't want space from Mara, not even a little. But he also didn't want to drag her into the mess of his past. He sat there almost an hour before finally standing and going to bed, though sleep came slowly and without grace. The next morning, his phone buzzed at 8:04 a.m. A message from Mara. "Good morning, son. I hope the kids let you sleep in a little. No pressure, but if you want company today, I'll be at the park grading papers. If not, that's okay too. Have a good Saturday." Jason stared at the screen for a long moment. He wanted to go. He wanted to see her. But he wasn't sure he could show up with the emotional storm still swirling inside him. He typed, "Hey, last night was complicated. My ex called. I just need a little time to think." He hovered over send. Then reluctantly, he pressed it. 3 dots appeared almost immediately. Disappeared. Reappeared. Then, of course, "Take the time you need. I'm here. No pressure, okay? Really. Gentle. Kind. Understanding." Which somehow made him ache more. He set his phone down and scrubbed his hands over his face. Ruby barreled into his room moments later wearing a unicorn onesie. "Daddy. Cinnamon rolls." Jason forced a smile and scooped her into a hug. "Let's go bake some." But all through breakfast, through the sticky sweet chaos, through Russell insisting dragons preferred savory foods, Jason felt an undercurrent of worry. Not about Mara. About himself. and whether he was truly ready for a future that didn't include holding the past like a shield. That afternoon, when the kids were napping and the house had gone still again, Jason finally sat on the couch and let the truth settle. He liked her. Deeply. Unexpectedly. And he didn't want to lose something that could grow into something beautiful. But he also didn't want to ruin it by stepping in half-formed. He picked up his phone. Typed slowly. "Can we talk? Tonight? After the kids go to bed? I want to explain. I don't want you to think I'm pulling away." He exhaled. Hit send. After a long minute, her reply came. "Yes, I'd like that. Just tell me when." Chapter 7. The talent show. The sky had already shifted to evening blue by the time Jason pulled into the school parking lot. The annual Oak Creek Elementary Talent Showcase was one of those chaotic, well-intentioned events that guaranteed three things: a packed auditorium, questionable lighting, and at least one act that would be remembered for all the wrong reasons. Parents gathered in clusters, children wearing everything from sequined costumes to hand-made cardboard props. Jason spotted his parents up front, waving wildly as he coaxed Ruby and Russel out of the truck. Ruby was wearing a glittery pink dress. Naturally. Russel wore his dragon hoodie. Naturally. "You ready, sunshine?" Jason asked. Ruby bounced. "Miss Callahan says I have star potential." "Well, I agree." Russel tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, dragons don't clap. They roar." "That's fine," Jason said. "But maybe roar silently?" Russel frowned. "Silent roars are invisible." Jason sighed. "Do your best." Inside, the auditorium buzzed with pre-show excitement. Kids ran around backstage. Adults chased after them with hairbrushes, water bottles, and pleased to stay still for just 5 seconds. Jason spotted Mara in the chaos, clipboard in hand, hair half up in a loose twist that somehow made her look both professional and like she had run here from a wind tunnel. When she saw Jason, her shoulders loosened as though she'd been holding her breath since yesterday. "Hey," she said softly, approaching him. "You made it. Wouldn't miss it." They shared a small, meaningful smile, one filled with the unspoken promise of the conversation they'd have later. Ruby flung herself at Mara. "Miss Callahan, I'm ready. I practiced in the car and Daddy said I sounded like a beautiful unicorn angel." Jason blinked. "I said something like that." Russell stood with crossed arms. "I'm not performing." "You're drumming with your group," Jason reminded him. "That's performing," Russell countered. Mara crouched down. "It's also heroic." Russell considered. "Fine. For the dragons." When she stood again, Mara's eyes met Jason's, soft amusement warming her features. "They're impossible not to love." "I know," he said quietly. "It's the best problem I have." Someone called her name from the stage entrance. "That's my cue," she said. But before she turned, she paused. "Thank you for texting last night, and for wanting to talk. It meant a lot." "I meant it," he said. "I don't want to leave anything unclear between us." A faint smile curved her lips. "Me neither." Then she headed toward the curtain, stepping into the whirlwind of backstage chaos. The show began with a shaky piano rendition of Twinkle Twinkle, followed by a juggling act that ended with marbles rolling into the front row, followed by a shy poetry reading that made half the audience misty-eyed. Then came the group performance Mara had helped organize, the mini maestros, which included both Ruby and Russell. Mara appeared beside Jason in the wings, headset askew, breathing a little too fast. "Everything okay?" he whispered. She huffed a laugh. "Rhythm sticks have become dangerous weapons. We're surviving." Ruby marched on stage with heroic enthusiasm, rhythm sticks raised like batons of destiny. Russell shuffled on behind her, serious as a general entering battle. The music started simple, lively percussion. The kids tapped along, some on beat, some in their own personal timelines. Ruby shined. Glitter literally reflected off the stage lights, sparkling around her like magical dust. And Russell? Russell hit the drum with the solemn gravity of a dragon forging thunder. The audience laughed, delighted, and he straightened like a king receiving applause. Jason couldn't look away. These were his kids, his whole world, and Mara had helped them shine. He glanced at her. She was watching them too, expression softened into something tender. "They're perfect," she whispered. He didn't realize until then how close they were standing. Their shoulders nearly brushed. Their breath mingled in the dim backstage glow. "Thank you," Jason murmured, "for giving them this." She looked at him then, really looked, as though seeing someone she'd been hoping to understand more deeply. "They did all the work," she whispered. "I just helped them show who they already were." The music ended. Applause thundered. Ruby bowed so dramatically she nearly fell. Russell gave a small, regal nod. As the kids ran off stage, Ruby tackled Mara with glittery arms. "We did it." Mara hugged her, laughing. Russell stood beside Jason, gripping his hand with hidden but fierce pride. "You were amazing," Jason told him. Russell shrugged. "Dragons don't get nervous." Jason squeezed his hand anyway. After the performance, another teacher swooped in to collect the next act, leaving Jason and Mara for one of the first quiet moments they'd had in days. "Walk with me," Jason asked softly. She nodded. They slipped into a quieter hallway behind the auditorium. The faint sounds of applause carried through the walls. The overhead lights flickered in a warm buzz. Jason exhaled, long and slow. I didn't want to text what I needed to say. Mara waited, patient, palms tucked into her cardigan sleeves. My ex called last night, he began carefully. For the first time in months, her breath hitched, barely. Oh, she said she wants to reconnect with the kids. He rubbed the back of his neck. And maybe with me, I don't know. She didn't say it, but I heard it in the way she talked. Mara's expression tightened just slightly. Not possessive, not insecure. Protective. Concerned. For him, not for herself. I told her we'd talk. Slowly. Carefully. I told her she can't just come back and undo everything the kids have had to learn without her. Mara nodded. Good. He took a breath. But I realized something after I hung up. Something that surprised me. What? She asked softly. That I didn't want to go backwards, he said. Not even a little. Her eyes softened. She stepped closer. Not touching, not assuming. Just closing the space enough to show she was there if he wanted her to be. I care about my kids more than anything, he said. And I'm scared. Scared of making a mistake. Scared of letting someone in and messing up their lives again. You're not messing up anything, Mara whispered. And I don't want to drag you into a complicated situation, he continued. But I also don't want to miss something good because of fear. Mara exhaled shakily. Jason. He stepped closer too. Slowly, carefully. Like approaching a fragile truth. You said you weren't in a hurry, he murmured. I'm not, she said. But I need you to know, he continued, voice low, that I want this. I want whatever this is becoming. Emotion washed across her face like warm sunrise. I want that too, she whispered. A loud burst of applause erupted from the auditorium, startling them both, and pulling them into the same small bubble of laughter. Mara looked up at him. We can go slow, really slow as you need. And you're okay with, he gestured vaguely, the baggage. She nodded, eyes tinged with something steady and bright. You come with two awesome kids, a supportive family, a heart that's been carrying too much, and a guitar decorated with glitter. That's not baggage. That's life. Jason didn't know he could feel relief so intensely. He reached out hesitantly and brushed a stray curl from her cheek. Mara didn't flinch. She leaned in. Their foreheads touched. It wasn't a kiss. Not yet. It was a promise. Someone called her name from inside the auditorium, shattering the quiet moment. Mara exhaled and pulled back slightly, smiling. Duty calls. Jason nodded, smiling back. I'll be here when you're done. Her expression turned warm, glowing. I'm counting on it. Then she slipped back through the doorway, leaving him alone in the hallway with the echo of applause and the steady, hopeful beat of his own heart. For the first time in years, Jason walked back toward the auditorium, not carrying the past like a weight, but holding the future like a possibility. Chapter 8. First kiss and forward momentum. By the time the final act wrapped and the crowd began to spill out of the auditorium, Jason felt exhausted in the best way possible. Ruby was buzzing with post-performance adrenaline, leaping between grandparents like an excited firefly. Russell clutched his small participation ribbon as though it were a medal of dragon valor. Jason's parents hovered nearby, alternating between bragging and taking photos. They were wonderful, his mother declared for the 10th time. Ruby had such stage presence. And Russell had rhythm, his father chimed in. Intense rhythm. Jason smiled as his kids soaked in every moment of praise, their faces bright, their joy impossible not to absorb. But through all of it, through the noise and bustle and laughter, Jason kept catching glimpses of Mara, helping pack props, hugging students, high-fiving parents, managing the chaos with that warm, capable energy that seemed to anchor everyone around her. And every so often, she looked up at him and smiled. Not polite, not accidental, warm, intentional, quietly happy. Eventually, the auditorium thinned out and families trickled into the cool night air. Jason collected the last of the kids' crafts and released them into the custody of his eager parents. Go on, his mom said, waving a hand. We're kidnapping them for post-show ice cream. Mom, we already promised them, she said, pointing at Ruby, who was already halfway into Grandpa's car chanting sprinkles. Try and stop us. Jason laughed. Okay, just don't let Russell eat too many gummy bears. He gets weird. He's 5, his dad said. Weird is normal. With a final round of goodbye hugs, the car full of grandparents and children pulled away, Ruby waving dramatically out the window and Russell silently pressing his dragon hood against the glass like a solemn sentinel. And then Jason was alone in the dusky parking lot. For only a moment, because Mara stepped outside just then, shrugging into her cardigan, a stack of papers under one arm, her hair a little messy from the backstage chaos. Their eyes met, her steps slowed, and she smiled. You survived, she teased. Barely, he said, walking toward her. They were incredible, Mara said. Both of them. Ruby almost blinded me with her glitter, but it was completely worth it. Jason chuckled. She considers it a weapon of joy. I've been sparkled, she said, plucking a stray piece from her sleeve. I'm officially part of the family now. The casual comment hit him harder than he expected. Warm, hopeful, vulnerable. He swallowed. They really like you. She glanced down, suddenly shy. I really like them. Wind rustled gently through the trees bordering the parking lot, scattering a few leaves across the pavement. The last of the staff drifted away, voices fading until only the two of them remained. The quiet stretched, comfortable but charged. Jason cleared his throat. About what we talked about earlier. Mara nodded, meeting his eyes. Yeah. I meant what I said. I want this. I don't want to let fear decide everything anymore. She stepped a little closer, her expression softening. I don't want fear deciding it either. He looked down at the folder in her hands, then back up at her. You sure you're okay with slow? She took a tiny step closer, just enough that he felt her warmth in the cool air. I'm okay with your slow, she corrected gently. And for the record, I don't think you're moving slowly at all. You're moving honestly. That's better. Jason's breath left him in a quiet exhale. She knew exactly how to steady him, without pushing, without pressure. Just there. He reached up, brushing a stray curl from her cheek, something he'd done earlier that night, but this time she leaned into the touch. You know, she murmured, I've been trying all night not to stare at you. He huffed a soft laugh. I wasn't doing a great job of not staring either. Her eyes flicked briefly to his mouth, then back to his eyes. The hint was unmistakable. Still, Jason hesitated. Is this okay? Her answer was quiet, warm, certain. Yes. So Jason stepped in, slowly, giving her every second to pull back if she wanted. She didn't. He kissed her gently at first, tentative, careful, the soft question of someone still learning how to reach forward after too long spent looking backward. But Mara answered that question by lifting a hand to his jaw, pulling him just a little closer, kissing him back without hesitation or doubt. The connection sparked through him, warm and grounding and new and familiar all at once. It was a kiss that felt like a beginning. A soft exhale escaped her when they parted, their foreheads still close enough to touch. Wow, she whispered with a nervous laugh. That was, good? He asked, smiling. She nodded quickly. Very. Jason chuckled, brushing his thumb lightly across her cheek. I think someone's porch light is on. She blinked. What? Then turned, and saw the bright motion-activated spotlight from a nearby house shining directly at them like a celestial scolding. Oh my God! She groaned, covering her face. Perfect timing. Amazing. Love that for us. Jason laughed softly. Well, at least we didn't set off the neighbor's dog. As if on cue, a dog barked. Mara groaned louder. I take it back. I take everything back. Jason gently pulled her hands from her face, still smiling. Hey, it's fine. She peeked through her fingers. You're laughing at me. No, he said. I'm laughing at this because it feels good. Her embarrassment melted into a shy smile. It does, doesn't it? He nodded. Yeah. She linked her arm with his as they walked toward his truck, slow and easy. So what now? Now? Jason said. I take you home. And after that? She asked quietly. He glanced at her, heart steady and full for the first time in a long time. After that, he said, we see where this goes, one step at a time. She smiled, leaning her head briefly on his shoulder. One step at a time sounds perfect. When they stopped beside his truck, he turned to her once more. I want this to be good for you, for the kids, for all of us. It already is, she said softly, then grinned. Other than the spotlight. And the dog. He laughed. Next time we'll find somewhere less well lit. Next time? She teased, eyebrow raised. Jason felt his chest warm. Yeah, next time. She touched his hand, just a whisper of contact, and it felt like a promise. Good night, Jason, she said. Good night, Mara. He watched her walk toward her small blue car, each step lighter than the last, until she finally glanced over her shoulder at him, smile bright in the streetlight. And for the first time in years, Jason didn't feel like someone holding his life together by threads. He felt like someone beginning again. Chapter 9. A weekend that changed everything. Saturday morning dawned bright and warm, the kind of golden early summer light that felt like a promise. Jason had planned nothing special. Maybe pancakes, maybe a walk, maybe letting the kids drag him into some backyard adventure involving sticks and imaginary quests. He didn't expect the day to unfold into something bigger, or something that would shift everything he thought he knew about his future. But at 8:17 a.m., his phone buzzed. Mara Callahan. Hey, there's a community music fest at the park today. Lots of kid-friendly stuff. Craft booths, face painting, student performers, kettle corn. If you and the kids want to stop by, I'll be there most of the day. No pressure. Just thought I'd share. Jason stared at the screen. Ruby barreled out of her room wearing pajamas and fairy wings. Daddy, can I have cereal on the porch because it tastes fresher outside? Russell followed, dragging a stuffed dragon by the tail. Outside is where dragons hunt. Jason looked again at Mara's message. He didn't feel pressure. He felt pulled. In the best way. He typed, "We'd love to. What time?" Her reply came within seconds. "Whenever you get here. I'm helping set up. I'll find you." They arrived just before 10. The park buzzed with life. Colorful canopies, chalk-drawn sidewalks, the distant sound of a microphone squealing as someone tested equipment. Ruby gasped, "There's a bounce house. Daddy, a bounce house." Russell narrowed his eyes at a booth shaped like a castle. "I sense dragons." Jason laughed. "Let's explore." But he didn't need to search for Mara. She spotted them first. She jogged toward them across the grass, wearing jean shorts, a soft yellow top, and sunglasses perched on her head. Sunlight caught her hair, and when she waved, Ruby sprinted toward her like she'd spotted a celebrity. "Miss Callahan." Mara laughed and crouched, opening her arms. "There's my star performer." Ruby hugged her with enough enthusiasm to unbalance a grown adult. Mara took it like a champ, steady, warm, completely delighted. Russell approached more cautiously. "Hi, Russell," Mara said with a gentle smile. "Did you bring your dragon today?" He nodded, gripping its tail tighter. "Dragons like music." "Well then," she said, eyes sparkling. "I'm so glad you came." Jason finally caught up, hands in pockets. "Hey." Her smile softened. "Hey." It was a simple greeting, but it felt full, warm, new. "Come on," Mara said, brushing grass from her knees as she stood. "I want to show the kids the craft tent. They have glitter. So, brace yourself." Jason grimaced playfully. "Glitter is Ruby's weapon of choice. She told me," Mara said. "I'm still recovering." Jason laughed, falling into step beside her. The craft tent was a chaotic wonderland. Children painted cardboard instruments. Parents tried and failed to keep their kids from eating glue. Ruby immediately inserted herself into a glitter station so enthusiastically that a volunteer quietly slid the glitter away from her reach. Russell examined a wooden drum kit model with scholarly interest. Jason stood nearby, arms crossed, watching them with fond bewilderment. "Why does glitter always multiply?" "It's sentient," Mara whispered. "We fear it." Jason chuckled. A volunteer walked by and accidentally brushed against him, leaving a dusting of gold on his sleeve. Mara laughed softly. "See? It has already chosen you." "It always chooses me," Jason said. "I think Ruby bribes it." She nudged him with her shoulder. Barely a touch, but enough to warm him through. "How are you feeling?" she asked quietly. He knew what she meant. Not just today, but after last night, after the kiss in the parking lot, after the confession tangled between them. "Good," he said honestly. "Better than I expected." Her breath eased out. "Me too." Jason hesitated. "And, thank you." "For what?" "For letting me go slow. For being patient. For understanding that my life is complicated." Mara's smile softened. "Jason, slow doesn't scare me. Complicated doesn't scare me. You don't scare me." His heart did an uncomfortable, hopeful flip. Before he could respond, Ruby popped up between them holding a dripping paintbrush. "Look what I made." Jason flinched back from the wet paint instinctively. "Wow, that's a very abstract." "It's a unicorn," she said. "Oh, obviously." Mara bent to admire it. "I love the pink sparkle mane." Ruby whispered proudly. "I used so much sparkle on purpose." Mara grinned. "I can tell." A festival volunteer approached with a wipe. "Here, you're going to want this." "Yes," Jason said, already moving Ruby's paintbrush away from his shirt. "Thank you." "Absolutely." Later, they wandered toward the food trucks. The kids split a basket of fries. Mara and Jason ended up sharing kettle corn because neither would admit they wanted the whole bag. "You have a piece of popcorn in your hair," Mara said, reaching up slowly. Jason froze, not because of the popcorn, but because of how gentle her touch was as she plucked it free. He met her eyes. She didn't look away. Neither did he. Before the moment could deepen, Ruby slingshot herself between them. "Daddy, can Miss Callahan come to the playground with us?" Jason blinked, stepping back slightly. Mara's cheeks flushed. "Only if she wants to," he said. Mara bit back a smile. "I want to." Ruby screamed in delight. Russell added, "Dragons will allow it." "Oh, thank goodness," Mara said dramatically. "I was worried." Jason shook his head, laughing. The playground became the heart of the day. Ruby climbed everything that had a ladder. Russell showed Mara how dragons surveyed their territory from the top of the jungle gym. Mara played along with the seriousness of a seasoned professional, asking questions like, "What are the dragon migration patterns? What is this rock's magical property? Should I be concerned that the unicorn population is declining?" Jason watched them from the bench, arms draped loosely over his knees, face softening with a kind of affection he hadn't realized he'd been holding back. She fit. With him. With them. With this. And the realization wasn't frightening. It was peaceful. A breeze drifted through the park. Kids shouted in the distance. Someone on stage began a ukulele cover of an old pop song. And Jason let himself imagine it. More days like this. More glitter. More dragon facts. More laughter. More Mara, sitting beside him on this bench. Or maybe leaning her head on his shoulder. Hey! Jason looked up. Mara stood in front of him now, brushing grass from her shorts, sunlight haloing her hair. Mind if I sit? She asked. Never. She sat close enough that their shoulders touched. Not much, but enough. Ruby and Russell were playing peacefully for once, giving them a rare quiet moment. Mara glanced at him. You're thinking very hard. He huffed a breath. That obvious? A little. He watched the kids for a moment before answering. Today's been really good. Yeah, she whispered. It has. And I keep thinking, this feels natural, easy, like something I didn't know I could want again. Mara's breath caught, and her eyes flicked up to his. I want this, Jason said softly. Not rushed, not complicated, but this. Mara tucked a curl behind her ear, her voice quiet. I do too. Are you sure? He asked. My life is messy. I don't always know what I'm doing. Jason, she said with gentle certainty. Messy doesn't scare me. He smiled. Without overthinking, he took her hand. She let him. Their fingers laced like they'd done it 100 times before. Jason exhaled deeply, the kind of breath that came from somewhere long locked up. Mara squeezed his hand. See? Not slow. Just right. He looked at her. At this woman who laughed with his kids, held space for his fears, and kissed him under a too bright spotlight. Yeah, he murmured. Just right. Ruby shrieked suddenly from the slide. Daddy! Miss Callahan! Dragons are attacking. Russell roared in agreement. Jason stood. Duty calls. Mara rose beside him. Let's save the kingdom. Hand in hand, they ran toward the playground. Not rushed. Not hesitant. Just right. Chapter 10, Choosing JOY. Sunday afternoon arrived with the smell of rosemary bread, slow simmered pasta sauce, and the chaotic music of Jason's family preparing for dinner as if the entire town were coming over. His mom bustled between the stove and the table with determined energy. We need another chair, and another plate, and someone find the good silverware. His dad stood by the counter, holding a salad bowl like it might attack him. Why does a salad need 3 spoons? It doesn't, Jason's sister yelled from the living room. But Mom does. Jason's brother, Nate, lounged on the arm of the couch, strumming soft guitar chords. Relax, everyone. It's just dinner. It's not just dinner, his mother hissed. It's meeting the special person dinner. There is a difference. Jason groaned. Mom. What? She waved a spoon at him. You've never brought someone before. That means we have to make a good impression. Please don't overwhelm her, Jason begged. She's amazing, but she's also normal. She's not prepared for Hale family intensity. We are lovable, his dad argued. We are terrifying, his sister corrected. Nate grinned. Speak for yourself. Jason glanced out the window as a familiar blue car pulled into the driveway. His heart steadied and warmed, same way it always did now. She's here, he murmured. His family snapped into formation like soldiers preparing for royal guests. Everyone act natural, his mom commanded. The moment the doorbell rang, she shrieked, Not like that, and shoved Nate off the couch when he attempted a dramatic bow. Jason hurried to the door before anyone else could make things worse. He opened it to find Mara standing there holding a small bouquet of flowers. Wildflowers, bright and simple, the kind kids might pick on a spring trail. Her smile softened when she saw him. Hi. Jason felt that familiar, unsteady, perfect rush. Hi. You ready? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be. He lowered his voice. We can escape out the back if it goes badly. She laughed. Lead the way. But before he could, his mother materialized behind him. You must be Mara, she declared, sweeping the door open wider. Mara startled. Oh, hi. Yes, these are for you. She held out the flowers. Oh, sweetheart. Jason's mom melted instantly, taking them with both hands. Look at these. Oh, you are precious. Jason whispered. I'm so sorry. Under his breath, Mara grinned. I like her already. And just like that, she stepped into the living room, where the Hale family descended like enthusiastic, well-meaning vultures. His dad shook her hand too hard. Nate offered her a welcome fanfare on guitar. His sister hugged Mara so tightly that Jason feared rib damage. But Mara, wonderful, steady, adaptable Mara, handled all of it with a bright smile and genuine warmth. Once everyone settled down, Ruby and Russell raced out from behind the couch. Miss Callahan. Ruby squealed, crashing into Mara's waist like a glitter-powered bullet. Mara crouched to hug her, laughing. Hi, sunshine. Russell stepped up too, placing one hand on her arm. Dragons approved your presence, he declared solemnly. I'm relieved, Mara said with equal solemnity. I didn't want to break any dragon laws. Russell nodded, satisfied. You may eat. Jason's family burst into laughter. Dinner was loud, so loud. Jason kept wincing, worried it would overwhelm her. But Mara seemed delighted by every minute. His mom quizzed her about teaching. His dad quizzed her about music. Nate asked when she'd be joining their next jam session. His sister asked enthusiastic, borderline chaotic questions about dating, marriage, and whether Mara liked wine. Jason nearly dropped his fork at that one. Mara reached under the table and squeezed his knee, her eyes sparkling with amusement. She was fine. More than fine. A wave of affection crashed into him so suddenly it stole his breath. He loved this. He loved her in this house. He loved her with his kids. He loved her with his family. He wasn't ready to say the words yet. Not out loud, not tonight, but he knew. He was already there. After dinner, the chaos spilled into the living room. Ruby performed her talent show routine for anyone who would watch. Russel demonstrated dragon stances, which were mostly just crouching and occasionally growling. Mara applauded each one like she was judging a world-class competition. Eventually, the kids curled up on the couch beside her, both half asleep, heads resting on her shoulders. She didn't move, didn't shift, didn't even blink. She just held still in that small, perfect moment. Jason watched from across the room, feeling something crack open inside him. Quiet and profound. His mom quietly stepped up beside him. "She's good. She is," Jason whispered. "You look happy," his mom continued, touching his arm. "Really happy." He swallowed. "I am." She squeezed his hand. "Then we're happy." When the kids finally nodded off completely, Jason gently lifted them from Mara's shoulders. She stood slowly, stretching her arms. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "I think I lost circulation in my left shoulder, but I regret nothing." He laughed. "You were amazing tonight." "No," she said softly, stepping closer. "Your family was amazing." Jason shook his head. "They were a lot. They were wonderful," she corrected. "And they adore you. And Ruby. And Russell." She hesitated. "And maybe me?" "That's an understatement," he said. She smiled, eyes bright. Jason walked her to the front door as his parents gathered leftovers and Nate played soft guitar in the background. When they reached the doorway, the noise faded into a warm hum behind them. "Thank you for inviting me," Mara said. "Tonight was special." Jason nodded. "It was." She looked up at him. "You look lighter." "I feel lighter." "Good," she whispered. He reached for her hand. "I'm not scared anymore." Her breath caught. "No, no," he said. "Not with you." Mara's eyes softened. "Jason." He cupped her cheek, thumb grazing her skin. This time, when he leaned in, it wasn't hesitant or questioning. It was sure. Their kiss was slow, warm, full of promise and tenderness and the steady certainty of people choosing joy rather than fear. When they parted, she rested her forehead against his. "So," Mara whispered, smiling. "What now?" Jason smiled back. "Now," he said, "we keep building this, together, one step at a time." "Just right," she murmured. "Just right," he echoed. She kissed him once more, soft, quick, and walked toward her car. Jason watched her go, heart full. Behind him, his family watched through the window with zero subtlety. His sister whispered loudly, "Did they kiss?" Nate replied, "Pretty sure they kissed." His mother said, "Oh, thank goodness. I was about to intervene." Jason groaned, laughing as he pushed the door shut. But he didn't mind. Not tonight. Tonight was new. Tonight was hope. Tonight was the first night of the rest of his future. One that finally felt whole, joyful, and full of possibility. And he couldn't wait to see where it went next.